Just 9 teams to go until we beat the 92, and I've stayed at Leyton Orient to kick off season number 7. We deliberately missed out on promotion via the playoffs last season in order to take out 4 more clubs in League 1, even though the season preview has us down in 10th place. Now, the EFL Cup gave us a nice draw early on in Cheltenham, which meant we had 2 chances to beat them in the first month of the season. A few transfers were needed to improve the squad though, and first up was Kieran McGuckin, formerly of Glen Torren, to provide much needed strength to our midfield. The level of strength was then blown out of the water completely as Tahith Chong joined, formerly of pretty much everywhere. I tried to sign him in the Championship with Ipswich 3 or 4 years ago, who knows at this point, but he came in now as our best player at Brisbane Road. Now, young left-back Jaden Meghoma also came in on a free transfer because I refused to spend money on players in League 1, and he was going to provide some great depth in the defence. Now, we finally sorted out our goalkeeping situation as well, getting Daniel Grimshaw in from Blackpool. Now, despite coming from the National League side, he is a massive improvement over everyone else at the club. We'd got someone to stop the goals, and now we needed someone to score them as well. So Luca Fletcher came in on loan from Fulham. Now, this new gen looks like he had a decent loan spell at Exeter last season, but looking at his attributes, he's improved a lot since then. The 4-2-3-1 remained in place and we were ready to kick off the season. But before we could get to Cheltenham, we signed a veteran centre-back in Jake Cooper, whose experience of over 500 games at Millwall would be much needed for our young squad. Cheltenham took the lead in the EFL Cup tie thanks to former Blackburn youngster Edmondson, but we were quick to turn things back around. Meghoma put a deep ball into the box from the left flank, with Hawkins getting there first and nugging it into the path of Gilsenan to score the equaliser just after half-time. Chong then showed his class as he tore through the midfield and scored an audacious outside of the boot effort from range to give us the lead. Now, with Archibald coming off the bench and finding himself in tons of space, he put the game beyond all doubt with a 3-1 away victory. Not long later, Grimshaw was taken out of action with an ankle injury in training and would miss a month of games. We'd have to play an out-of-contract Suarez, who held things down last season, but he could leave at any point. This meant that the season started well, if a little rocky, but there were lots of goals, and former club Ipswich took us out of the EFL Cup and took all our dreams away in the next round. So we sat third, a nice place early on, and would be promotion challengers with a full-strength side. On deadline day, Southampton came in with a big money offer for Scott Mullin, signing him for £3.7 million, but then sent him back on loan to us anyway for the rest of the season. I'd made a move already before that to sign a replacement, with Oscar Kelly coming in on loan from Stoke, so we got lots of options on the left wing now. Grimshaw returned from injury and in his first game back fractured his wrist, so the goalkeeping crisis was not over, and as such we didn't win a game during October, drawing against 3 relegation candidates, which was not a good look. Thankfully we kept the pace and still sat second just behind Exeter, but it was getting a bit crowded at the top. Morecambe were up next, and thankfully Grimshaw was back and in goal. Within 6 minutes, McGuckin threaded the needle to put Mullin through to open the scoring, and then Mullin turned provider 6 minutes later, allowing Chong to smash home goal number 2. Chong and Mullin then worked together for goal number 3, putting Fletcher in, and we were comfortable winners. With a late penalty from Morecambe, nothing of any concern for anyone, and we were now top of the league. With the squad back to full fitness, we went on an absolute tear, only dropping points in a draw against QPR over the next 8 games. We were out of the remaining cup competitions, but with fixture rearrangements, we had the final 2 clubs back-to-back in mid-December. We had gapped the chasing pack though, and were 7 points clear, but it wouldn't matter soon, all being well. Burton Albion were really tough to break down, but we did manage to, eventually, with Mullin leading the charge on a counter-attack, and his threaded through ball allowed Fletcher to slot home the only goal of the game. Recently relegated Barnsley were up next. A second-half free kick from Chong was drifted into the back post, but the defence couldn't clear the ball away, and this left Mullin and Bailey to pass around the edge of the area before the latter curled in the opening goal. But with 3 minutes left, Barnsley fought their way back into the game. A lofted cross was headed home at the back post, but thankfully a last-gasp break in the 93rd minute was key to our victory, with Hawkins putting a hopeful ball into the box, and he went all the way through to Sang, who slotted home, and we had won. Leyton Orient were now 9 points clear, but with Charlton having a game in hand. More importantly, we were down to just 5 teams left in Beat the 92, 3 in League 2 and 2 in the National League. A quick look at the Job Centre shows 4 options in League 2, but nothing in the National League just yet. 3 relegation struggling sides and mid-table Rochdale, who might be our next home. Regardless of where I go next, I'm unfortunately having to leave another dominant side in December. Goodbye, Leyton Orient. It was just one game shy of 50 at Brisbane Road, which came around very quickly, but with no teams left to beat, it seemed pretty pointless to hang around to get promoted into another league, where there were also no teams left to beat. 9 days later, I was unveiled as the new Rochdale manager. The timing wasn't great though, as their last 2 games were against Fleetwood and Wickham, who they beat, but they were still on our tracker, so I can't take credit for those victories. We'll have to wait until the end of the season to take on them too, and take their scalps, but we do have a clash with Gillingham before the end of the year. I take over in 8th place, just outside the playoffs thanks to goal difference, but with a couple of games to play before that clash with Gillingham. A mixed first 2 games saw goals galore against struggling Woking, and then defeat to promotion rivals Walsall. We remained in 8th with Gillingham just behind, and a win against them could create some good separation. Some lovely fluid passing in the second half led to our first goal of the game, with Kamara putting the finishing touch on the move. A counter-attack with 5 minutes to go sealed the fate of the game, with Captain Neil putting McGill through to make it 2-0 and lock in another victory. Just 4 teams left to go, but January came and went because the financial situation was particularly dire. Nearly $1 million in the red and overspending already on our wage budget, so there were no transfers made and no loan moves completed either. On the pitch, things were going incredibly well. 5 victories and a draw is fine form, which has seen us rise up to 3rd place in the league. Salford are miles clear, but we are now looking really good shout for promotion. The next 2 months were largely good as well. We absolutely smashed Salford 4-0, but then dropped points in the subsequent 3 games. March saw us secure at least a playoff place, and we continue to be right in the thick of an automatic promotion battle against Walsall and Fleetwood, who we would finally get a chance to defeat in the next game. Things started very well as Kamara beat the defence with a perfectly timed run, which allowed him to square the ball for Brown to nod home for the opener. Fleetwood caught us in the second half with a similarly worked goal, with the ball into the box being our undoing. But a well-worked move 10 minutes later saw Brown return the favour to Kamara, which he gladly put away, and we would leave deserved winners. And on the final day of the season, we faced Wickham, and we took the lead thanks to a wild deflection from Diallo's long-range hit and hope effort, and the ball looped hopelessly over the Wickham keeper. We doubled our advantage late in the second half, with Myers winning a back post header and McGill smashing in the knockdown. 2-0 winners, and we had just 2 teams left on the list. It was a great effort in the second half of the season to see Rochdale automatically promoted. In typical bizarre fashion, a challenge to beat all 92 English League clubs is going to have to end with me managing in the National League. That doesn't make any sense. The current options are either Harrogate and Eastbourne. Both sides struggled this season, but we'll see what happens when I resign from Rochdale. Let's beat all the 92 by going to the National League.